Hey, I'm going to be talking about bursts, how they work in this game and what you should do about it. Before I start, I'm already going to tell you, if you already know the basics about this game, that's good. It's going to help you here. Because a lot of these things, like basic fighting game lingo should be important too in my opinion. A lot of the things I'm going to be talking about kind of require a little bit of knowledge on the fighting game scene and anime fighters in general regarding bursts. But that's kind of like the only real requirement for this video. Otherwise, I don't really mind. Even if you're a complete beginner, as long as you understand what I mean, it's really good. And I'll probably like explain a little bit more in the description or maybe in the comments. Who knows? But let's start. Let's just start. Let's go, man. Let's go. Bursts are inputted by pressing P and D. Let's say Ragnar, the man himself, my best friend, me, hits me. I can press P and D, and my partner character will come down with an airborne attack, hopefully hitting the opponent and making sure they get off of you. That's the whole point of burst, to get them off of you. You can do this in hit stun or when you're blocking as well. So it's kind of up to you whenever you want to use burst, which is good. You can do it to neutral, of course. That'd be kind of silly and a little bit redundant. But there's always an option while both blocking and getting hit. When you burst, your character you switch out, for this being Ragnar, for backflip, go behind the dodge shield, the backflip. Some characters don't backflip, but it's cool. But he'll back off and disappear from the screen, being completely safe, while your partner character will come in. So that means your character you take out is completely safe, and they'll have like a good time to regenerate their health or just get back in the back line and be able to provide assist for the person that's now in front. It really just like is a good option to have. But it also costs cross gauge, the meter below there, and it shares its meter with assists. And because it regenerates, let me see here, there we go. Because it regenerates on a certain amount of time after you use cross burst, it'll be empty for a while. And because it costs one full cross gauge, when you use it, you won't be able to use it again for a longer duration. And even longer in some scenarios where you actually have done for like a little long while. Let's say after a cross combo. When it's empty, you can't do it. It has to be full. Which makes sense, right? So yeah, unlike other burst mechanics in other fighting games, like for example Guilty Gear's burst, you can use this burst a lot more in a round than you would think you could, because of how it regenerates. I've seen some matches where I've seen the opponent like burst 5 times in a single round, which is quite funny to be honest. It just keeps happening. But that's possible in a game like this when you conserve your assist and save them more for burst or other things like this. So yeah, sounds pretty strong. Get them off of you, unblock or unhit, and be able to reset the situation back to a more neutral position for you, so you can perhaps zone them out or go back in and apply your own pressure. It's a pretty strong momentum kill move. But there's a whole problem. Due to its effectiveness and how fast you can use it and how often, it has some downsides and some problems that we're going to go over right now using Ragnar. He's still set to 1, so on the first hit he will burst. Also use Adachi in some examples which will come later. But first of all, you can block the burst. If you can jump cancel your normal, be it in the air or on the ground, and you can jump in time and see the burst and block, you're going to be able to block the burst, and when you block it, they're very unsafe. You're going to be able to get a full counter hit punish with a combo starter of your choice. Not all of them, because some moves aren't fast enough, but most of them will pretty much work, which is really good. It's a very strong way to beat burst and send a match to your opponent that they can't burst again. Well, they can if they want to, but not a good idea if you can punish it like this, right? In a pinch, if you're unable to jump cancel a certain move, like let's say 5A, I can also, oops, let me do this. I can also use my anti-air move. This varies from character to character. For Ragnar it's 5B for example. But you just do a 5B, hit them clean, and also get a combo of your own. It might be a bit less optimal. Very dry example, but I think you understand what I mean with this. Anti-air, maybe use an assist, pick up the combo, and go from there. Get a pretty decent conversion out of it if you're unable to jump cancel. If you cannot jump cancel and cannot anti-air them, there's still another option. Let's say after a move like 2C, which cannot cancel back into anything except special moves, and reversal action. Reversal action is also a universal option to beat any sort of cross burst and gets them off of you, which is also really strong. But as you can see, the effectiveness of this is kind of neutered. You don't really get a combo follow-up, you only get some damage and some red health damage, and also just kind of like return the situation back to neutral as well. It's not as strong as anti-airing or jump cancelling a move and blocking the burst entirely. But it's still a really reliable option to keep in mind if you know you cannot jump or you cannot anti-air. What you can also do in place of reversal action is do a super And when you super, big damage, potentially DHC, and get a lot of damage in. Almost 9k, really good. Most characters have an invincible reversal super that they can use in order to get out of the situation, and some characters, like this guy right here, gets a really unique conversion out of it. His cross slash has a new property where counter hit gives him a full combo follow-up. Simple again, but also 9k on his own, no help required, which is really strong. It's a very strong option for him indeed. I believe some other characters can do this as well, get countered punches with their super, but it's pretty rare, so don't expect to see this that you play Adachi. He's already pretty good, so it's also very good upside, and I thought it would be something I should mention because you're gonna see Adachi a lot online. Jump back to luck now. There's another way to beat bursts. If you don't want a reversal action, or super, or anti-air, or whatever it might be, you can also just burst back yourself. It's not really that effective as you can see, it just does the cross burst back. It's guaranteed, it gets him off of you, it's kind of like a double, get off of me! A double one, but I wouldn't really call it a very wise way to get them off of you. Unless this hit will potentially get them to a really low health percentage, or maybe it's what you really just want in this scenario. There's no other option you can do, use cross burst back. Because you can do this at any point, even when you're getting hit back, as long as a cross burst hits you, you can do this. So it's a very, very reliable option too, but again, a very, very weak one. Not very, well, I would say the weakest one by far. And there's one more universal option you can do at any point. When the cross burst is about to hit, you call your assist. It's a bit hard to time on some characters, and it varies a little bit, but if I get this right, Adachi comes in, I can just kind of like do a combo and get a conversion of it, even though I got hit by the cross burst, because Adachi came in to support me using the assist call. This will work right before you get hit. The timing is a bit strict, it's hard, but as you can see, it gives you a full combo follow-up and doesn't require as much commitment as an anti-air, a super, or a reversal action would, or even jumping and blocking. It's also very reliable because you can do it at any point. As long as you just see the cross burst coming, you can use assist and get this off and get them off of you with a lot of very good potential damage. Of course, some characters do this better than others because some assists have a longer hit stun on them, meaning that you have to lab this yourself. See what reliable way you can use to beat burst with your assist. The only downside of this method is that when your assist is already out, you can't really do it because it's already out. Same goes for doing cross combos and maybe when the assist meter is at 0, or you already use your assist in the combo and you can't call them again. That's the only time you cannot use this method, and you have to resort to the other ones I mentioned previously. Those are some good ways to beat burst. I'd say they're all usable in their own way, in their own unique way, except maybe the counter cross burst. I wouldn't really call this a very good way to counter it, but it exists. I should mention it purely for completion's sake. But now, when should you burst? You know when you can counter them, and you should also know when to use it yourself. Using it early is not very advised. You can get anti-aired, you can get jump cancel and blocked, or you can get an assist call on you. Sometimes they will miss, of course, but when you do it early, they have a lot of options to stop you, which is kind of bad. It's not what you really want. Using a special move is better because they cannot anti-air, reversal action or super, but they can still assist call. Ideally, you should use in a situation where you know they already spent their assist. For example, they use an assist to extend a combo. They won't be able to use it again in that same combo. Meaning that you will always have a consistent, easier access to always burst there. As long as you know they won't be able to jump cancel or block, it'll be completely fine. So, it's kind of a lame explanation to be honest. It's really hard to explain because it really just varies on the situation, I'd say. It's hard, it's hard to be honest, but just know, as like a guideline, when they use their assist, they can't use the assist call never to stop you. When they cannot jump cancel, they cannot jump cancel block, and when they use a certain type of move, they cannot gatling back into their anti-airs. Or if they're using a special, they cannot do reversal action or super. That's kind of like a universal way to look at it and know when to burst. That's important to know because the weaknesses are very important to know regarding this move. This interaction you'll have with the opponent.